What if you could still impress people with epic guitar solos while avoiding the cage system like the plague? Well, let me show you how that's possible. Hey, Eddie here with Guitar Mastery Method, and I'm about to show you how to play some killer lead licks without needing the cage system whatsoever. Now, I want to preface this lesson by saying I love the cage system. I'm a big fan of it, and I advocate it for any guitar player to learn it. However, it takes a long time to memorize those patterns, get them under your fingers, and be able to confidently navigate the fretboard when you're soloing using the cage system. So what I'm going to show you is a complementary alternative that'll get you soloing much quicker. I like to call this alternative the 3-for-1 octave system. And what it does essentially is it separates the 6 strings of your guitar into 3 groups, occupying 3 different octaves. So we start with the low octave, which is on the low E and the A strings. That's the low octave block, right? Then we have the middle octave, which is the D and G strings, okay? That's our middle octave. And then for the high octave, we have the B and high E strings. So we have lower octave, right? Low E, A strings, middle octave, D and G strings, and the high octave, B and high E strings. So with that in mind, we can take a lick that starts in the low octave, for example, and multiply it by expanding the same lick over those other 2 octaves. So let me give you an example of the first lick that I'm going to show you. It goes like this. So in this first lick, I play with my first finger, right, the 3rd fret of the low E string, then with my 3rd finger, the 5th fret of the low E string, and then I kind of repeat that on the A string, right, 3rd fret, 5th fret. But then when I get to the 5th fret, I do a little hammer-on and pull-off with my pinky. So while I'm holding the 5th fret on the A string, and that note is sustaining, my pinky is, it's hammering to the 6th fret and pulling off back to the 5th fret. All right, so, and then we pull off from the 5th fret to the 3rd fret, and then we land on the 5th fret of the low E string. So really straightforward lick based on the pentatonic scale. All the licks I'm going to be showing you, by the way, are referenced with the G pattern pentatonic scale. All right, so it helps if you already know it, but even if you don't know it, that's not really important. It's just to show you visually how these 3 licks that I'm going to show you, when we expand them to different octaves, how they kind of reference and they're sort of in proximity with the G pattern pentatonic scale. So if you happen to know, how to solo in that scale, you can totally use these licks as a complement to that. So let me show you how you can take that lick using the 3-for-1 octave system and multiply it across 3 octaves. So we have it on the low octave already, right? Now in order to bring it to the middle octave, we already know that the middle octave, the strings are the D and the G string. Notice how the lick only is on the low E and the A strings. So if we want to move it to the middle octave, right? All we're doing is when we bring it down to those strings, we bring it over the distance of 2 frets. So 1, 2, right? All right, 1, 2, and then we bring it down to the strings of the middle octave, the D string and the G string, and we play the exact same pattern of the lick. We play out the lick the exact same way, just in a new position. All right, so see the resemblance? All I did was take that first block in the lower octave, shift it, right, up 2 frets, and then down to the strings of the middle octave. Play the same thing. So it plays out this way, between the 5th fret and the 7th fret on the D string, and same thing on the G string, and then with a little hammer-on pull-off, right, onto the 8th fret here, and then pull off from 7 to 5, all right, and then landing on the 7th fret of the D string now. So we've just taken that one lick and multiplied it into 2 licks using 2 different octaves. But we have one more octave, right? We got the higher octave. So in order to shift to the higher octave, we already know what strings we got to use, right? The B and the high E strings. But what we have to do, if you're in standard tuning, is move them up 3 frets instead of 2, like we did from the low octave to the middle octave. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then bring it down right, to those two strings, the B and the high E string, and we play out the lick the exact same way. So hence the 3 for 1, right? We got the one lick, and we turned it into 3 licks using 3 different octaves. Pretty cool, right? So now you can see how the 3 for 1 octave system can take one lick, right, in one octave and span it across 2 other octaves as a total of 3 octaves, right? Turning one lick and multiplying it by 3. So we've just gone from the 3rd fret, right, on the low E string, all the way up to the 10th fret on the high E string, technically the 11th because we did that little hammer-on pull-off there, with just one lick. And when you play these licks, you can play them, you know, in order, or you can stagger the order, you know. Even though it's the same lick, when you bring it into a new octave, it kind of breathes new life into the lick, so it becomes much more repeatable without being repetitive. But I've got even more licks to show you. Let's get into lick number 2. So it starts on the lower octave, right? The 5th fret of the low E string, then the 8th fret, same string. Then we're going to play on the A string, 5, 6, 7, right? And then finally, to end it, we're going to go back to the 5th fret on the low E string, and then the 8th fret, and kind of hold it there. We can even give it a little bend on the 8th fret. Let's give it some attitude. So with lick number 2 in particular, it sits right on top of the G pentatonic pattern. So this is a situation where if you're already familiar with that pattern, right, this kind of makes a little bit of sense to you, right? But even if you're not familiar with the pattern, just follow with what I'm showing you and you'll get this lick down just fine, right? So what we're going to do using the 3 for 1 octave system is we're going to span this across 2 more octaves. We still have the middle and the higher octave. So just like with lick number 1, in order to move this into a new octave, into the middle octave, right, which is the D and the G strings, we move it up 2 frets, right, 1, 2, and then we bring it down to the appropriate strings, right, D and G, and then we play out the lick just like we did in the lower octave here. So we just took this lick into the middle octave. Now when we bring it to the upper octave, right, remember, it's 3 frets up, then we bring it down to those strings. So now we've got lick number 2 spanning across 3 octaves. And finally, I got one more lick to show you. Lick number 3 goes like this. It's really simple, right? It starts with our 2nd finger, right? We're in the lower octave. So 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the low E string, and then pinky plays the 10th fret, right? And then with our 1st finger, we're going to play the 7th fret of the A string, and then we're going to play the 10th fret, and then we do a little pull off from 10 to 7 here, and then back to 10, and we just give it a little vibrato. All right, so just like with the other licks, let's span this across 3 octaves. So we already have it in the low octave. Now let's find the middle octave, right? D and the G strings. So let's move it up 2 frets, 1, 2, and bring it down to the D and the G strings and play that same pattern out. So in this case, it's 10th fret on the D string, and then 12th fret, and then 9, and then 12. Pull off to 9, and then hang on the 12th. So finally, with the upper octave, we're going to bring it up 3 frets, 1, 2, 3, down to the B and the high E strings. And we've just turned that into 3 licks. So what we've done now is taken 3 licks starting in 1 octave and multiplied each of those 3 licks into 2 additional octaves. So it's a lot of math, but it basically gives us a lot of licks to work with. You can create entire solos, go through entire jam sessions with just those 3 licks using the 3 for 1 octave pattern. So I'm going to give you an example of just playing by myself with no backing, how you can kind of navigate the fretboard with these 3 licks, change up the order, you know, mess around with different octaves and experiment, and then we're going to try them to a backing track and really put them to the test. So right there, I was just mixing and matching the different licks and different octaves, trying to kind of follow a rule of, if I start in one place on the fretboard, what's the easiest way I can get to another place on the fretboard by going through different licks? So if I wanted to start here, let's say, but I wanted to move up here, right, without having to just play the same lick across 3 octaves, you can kind of do something like this, right? You can move up to this lick. So it becomes kind of like a fun game. It's like you're just starting one place, you're finding creative ways basically from getting from A to B on your fretboard, and you have all these different, routes that these licks kind of create for you. And you can kind of move in a sort of steady, you could say linear kind of way, but it sounds fresh and cool, and you're not just playing the same lick. So it's like, have fun with that. Experiment with different ways. You don't have to torture yourself and just, jump like from all the way up here. Make it fluid and make it kind of make sense musically, right? If you want to challenge yourself, just being able to hop to different spots on the fretboard, you absolutely can do that. But if you're just trying to, solo and just kind of get through a song or a jam, think of just ways that you can use proximity, like what licks are close by to where your hand is that can get you where you are right now to a different place on the fretboard. And now we're going to take the 3-for-1 octave system and put it to the true test. I'm going to pull up a backing track in the key of A minor, and I'm going to play through these licks. We'll see how it sounds. Oh yeah, I'd say that worked out pretty good. I was just injecting the licks in different spots in the backing track, listening to the beat, the rhythm, and the chord changes, and finding certain places where the licks really popped. And that's exactly what I want you to do when you're practicing these licks to the backing track, which, by the way, the link for the backing track will be in the description box to this video. Just find different places to place the licks. As far as the octaves, get creative. If you find that the higher octave favors one lick in one place of the backing track better than another, you'll only really know that by experimenting. So go through them and use trial and error and process of elimination to find out and narrow down what are the best places to place those licks. And when you put it all together, you've got yourself an epic guitar solo. And once you become good friends with these example licks that I've shown you in the video, I want you to start creating your own. Start with, let's say, the lower octave, create a lick on just 2 strings, use the 3-for-1 octave system to expand them across the fretboard in new octaves, and just continue piling these on until you have this epic arsenal of licks that you can pull out at any time. So now you've learned a simple system that'll get you playing killer guitar solos across the fretboard with no cage system in sight. Today we covered the key of A, but what if you wanted to be able to solo in every musical key? Well, then I got something for you, my friend. A free worksheet on how to instantly solo in any key. This has helped thousands of guitar players learn how to transpose to every musical key you can think of in the shortest amount of time possible. So click here to claim your copy of the worksheet or check the link in the description box. And if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the bell notification icon. We also got a bunch more kick-ass lessons for you to absorb right here. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.